the answer to the question of why some of these North African countries have been more successful is perhaps a greater willingness to adopt and take on board these ideas, whether or not it's because they're geographically closer to Europe. These are complex reasons, but I think you need at the higher echelons of the game, you need people with courage and conviction, with vision, to be able to drive forward an agenda for positive change. And if we get that at club level or at national level, then things will improve.
Hello and welcome to EEXSport Talks. I am your host, C Enyadike Jr. And today we're diving into a topic that has been bubbling under the surface for years, or decades even. And that's Africa's football management and leadership gap. We all know that Africa produces some of the most gifted players anywhere in the world. But somehow the continent just always seems to struggle off the pitch, whether it's funding issues, organizational gaps, leadership problems, structures, everything. It's like the system just holds back these very talented players. So today I'm joined by two men who have spent years studying this whole phenomenon and just working on solutions. One man, he doesn't need an introduction. That's my father, the great Emeka Jadike. Another man, the brilliant Dr. Colm Hickey. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today.
We're trying to fit into the screen here, both of us.
Yeah.
Just very close to friends.
Yes, I could tell. Dr. Hickey, my first question is for you. This isn't your first time in Africa, but it is your first time in Nigeria. I'm not there physically, but welcome to Abuja. What was your first impression?
Well, I was very impressed with Abuja, I must say. I thought it was a very good advertisement for Nigeria in particular and Africa in general. I thought it was a modern, progressive, dynamic city. I haven't been able to see much of it because I've been working here, but the bit I've seen, I've been really impressed with, and it gives a very good advertisement for the progressive nature of this important and very dynamic country.
Yeah, that's great. Dad, let him go out and explore the city. What do you mean he hasn't been able to see much of it? Come on. Let him go out and explore.
I've been too busy working.
Give him time off.
Later.
I guess it goes out to both of you. The football forum, that's the big reason you're there. It's happening in Abuja, and it's expected to spark some important conversations, many of which weren't back in the day. How are you looking forward to that, and what are you hoping?
I can't begin to tell you how excited I am about the conference. I think it's very important for everybody in Nigeria in general and Africa more widely. And the reason for that is because it helps us to understand the development of the game and the way in which we, through this forum, will be able to address some of the issues that we see in African football. So we'll be looking at it from three perspectives: the past, the present, and the future. And I will be spending one session talking about the history of football in Africa. Then we will be moving on to a question and answer session for the delegates. Then moving to another discussion about the modern issues that are facing Africa and how we can develop strategies to improve things from an African perspective. And finally, we've got the very important Sport Apprenticeship Awards that we'll give out in the conclusion of the conference. And that's very much representing the future. These young people moving into football and sports more widely to be the new torchbearers of a modern, dynamic African solution to African issues. So I'm really looking forward to it greatly.
Yeah, you mentioned the importance of Dad, do you want to maybe share your thoughts real quick before we move on?
Well, generally, we envision having much bigger talk shop, but obviously a lot of logistics. So we are focused on looking for ways to improve and attract new talent into the management space, because the success of of how we've driven our mentorship platform across the continent has given us great encouragement to begin to push to get a lot more young people interested in getting involved in the process, because all they do is spend time on social media criticizing, like they have all the solutions. But at the end of the day, the goal is to get them to see that there is quite a big chance for them to come in and have a role to play. And so that's why I'm excited about it. And this is just the first in a series of this platform that we intend to take around different parts of the continent. We've run the mentorship platform for well over 6 years. And Colm and I, we've worked on the development of the football leadership and management program for like 5 years, and with a lot of experience and expertise that we are bringing into the platform. So we hope that at the end of the day, this is not just about people who are within the space. It's more about getting new talent. You asked in your intro, Africa has a lot more talent on the pitch, but off the pitch is where we need to begin to address, because that's the only way we can then look at the future that he highlighted a bit earlier.
Yes, the future is important, but let us just firmly talk about the present. Like you said, like I said, we've got the players, we've got passion, we've got the fan base. And maybe this question for you, Dr. Hickey, and Dad, you can also chime in. Why is there still such a massive gap in management and leadership across the football ecosystem on the continent?
I think you're right in one way. There's no shortage of talent. There's no shortage of enthusiasm, and there's no shortage of ability. It's not for me to say if there are any shortages, but rather than pointing out the deficiencies, rather creating a program that all people can sign up. So it's not, as I just said, it's not a lack of ability or talent. It might just be a lack of specific knowledge. And to that end, we've developed a leadership and management course that focuses on 7 Ps, so to speak, and they are perspective, product, performance, price, promotion, power, and planning. And if I just unpick those for 1 second, the perspective is about having vision and values. The product is talent spotting and identification. The performance is about building capacity for players. The price is the whole vexed question of football finance. The promotion is the marketing mix. How do we get people to come to our games? The power is the whole issue of globalization and how that's affecting Nigerian football in particular. And then moving on to planning, the necessity to having a strategic plan. So if we can unpick those things and give people contemporary tools to do the job, it's not a question of telling them what to do, rather giving them the tools to do the job for themselves. So we're really focused on African solutions to African conditions and finding their own pathway through the challenges and complexities and any problems that arise. So in that sense, we're really, really excited about it. And that will lead into the apprentices moving in through these football and leadership management courses to be able to take the next step on an exciting journey for African football.
Dad, you want to?
Well, I think
Yeah,
the gap is there. The opportunity is there for us to find ways in which we can leverage on the opportunities that exist, and also looking at how we can empower those who are within the system, and of course the younger ones who are coming through. So quite clearly, this is something that has been worked on for so many years. Ultimately, the goal is to try and, like I said earlier, attract those young talent, but also show them why they need to get involved. Because too many people are sitting on the chairs, holding onto their phones and just tweeting
share
and
coaches.
posting. Yeah, but they need to get involved, and this is one way. And we're very excited because we've seen the result with some of those who have been part of the system. I mean, one of the young ladies who has been part of this program over the last, I mean, she joined us in 2020, and recently she got voted into the top 50 most influential women in African football. She's involved in media, she's involved in sports management, football management, and, generally just those kind of results. I mean, one of those on the class of 2020 has just been appointed as a senior special advisor to the minister. And that's something that excites us tremendously.
Absolutely. And to just reinforce what Emeka has been saying, and the whole perspective of my involvement with sports and the Sport Apprentice isn't, I said, to tell people what to do in any way, shape, or form. It's rather to work with people so that we have African solutions to African issues.
I think those 7 Ps you mentioned are quite important because, and in some of our previous episodes, we've discussed the countries that do seem to be really getting it right. That being, especially in the north, that being Morocco and Egypt, but recently Cape Verde. Why do these countries, they seem to manage to stay organized and progressive, but then we find that, places like Nigeria and other countries in Africa, they're struggling, or in some cases lagging behind.
I think the issue again is one of commitment and being willing to seek out what is the most effective leadership and management strategies that you can adopt. So without going through all the 7 Ps again, if we talk about issues of vision and values, if we talk about perspective and product and place, these are things that any successful organization will have in its DNA, so to speak. And it's, I think, harnessing the best practices of leadership and management, not from a football perspective, but from an industrial and business perspective, and then applying those techniques towards football. So football can learn from the business world and the industrial world and the financial world. The answer to the question of why some of these North African countries have been more successful is perhaps a greater willingness to adopt and take on board these ideas, whether or not it's because they're geographically closer to Europe, whether or not it's because there's an even greater transition of players. These are complex reasons, but I think you need, at the higher echelons of the game, you need people with courage and conviction, with vision, to be able to drive forward an agenda for positive change. And if we get that at club level or at national level, then things will improve. And if we don't have that, if you have weak leadership and ineffective management, then the solution, the likelihood is that you'll get poor performance. Our role is trying to identify people, help people, give them the tools so they can do the job and have a real feeling of ownership. And of course, success breeds success. And if a country does very well on the international stage, that creates more enthusiasm and more dynamism. And if it underperforms for whatever reason, then that often leads to a period of introspection and a lack of enthusiasm. And to be honest, if any country or any football team feels that it is slipping down the rankings, an honest conversation needs to be had in that club or in that federation of what is going well, what are the things that we need to do better, and how do we attract the best people to help us help ourselves. So that's as simple and as complicated as it can be. But on the one hand, the courage to embrace change and the courage to have a vision and stick to that plan is really, really important, and not, as some clubs do and as some federations do, demand change too quickly. change is difficult, change takes time, and we have to get everybody working together so that the change that we want only will happen if everybody in the organization is committed to that change. And that's where the vision and values that I spoke about are so important. And my final point would be, of course, that success breeds success. And if you are successful, more people want to join, there's more enthusiasm. And if you're not being successful, you can get yourself into a sort of downward spiral. And that's where the courage to change, and that's where the courage to have that difficult conversation takes place.
Success breeds success. I love that, because you mentioned earlier the Sports Apprentice. It has been quite successful in its tenure. So let's talk about that. How important is that mentorship element in developing the future leaders, because that's what we need. That's GCL plans, long-term thinking. We need those leaders, that capacity building, that talent pipeline, just the structure in place. How important is a program like the Sports Apprentice and that mentorship aspect to that?
Well, Gift, I think it's crucial, because every single person in the world ever who's been successful has had help and advice on the way. They've listened to people, they've seen what other people have done. No one does it by themselves. It's impossible. Therefore, a mentorship program, a leadership program, every leader has been a follower of somebody, whether that's through reading books or seeing emulating another person. So that's how we learn. And if we can create a system whereby people with experience and knowledge and talent are in a position to help younger people with ambition and talent to move forward, then that's only going to be a good thing, because we don't want the knowledge and the delivery of any organization in the hands of a few aging people. We want to pass the torch of life and enthusiasm and energy on to younger people. And at the same time, those younger people who go through the apprenticeship programs and receive the mentoring, they then forge their own route. They bring their own talents and abilities, and it's not recreating the path, it's finding a new path, but having the want of a better phrase, the moral compass, the leadership compass and guidance that they've received, so that when they're in a difficult situation, because of the mentorship and because of the training they've received, they're best placed to find their own solutions in a considered way. So I think it's a critical part of the future development of football in Africa.
Yeah, I want to zero in on a point you made about this. Just that support for the young people. In various parts of the world, in Europe, in the United States, in North America, and South America, and Asia, universities, they offer these full pathways into the sports industry. In Africa, those kind of opportunities aren't. There's not a lot of those. Dr. Hickey, you've taught in several of these global programs. Is something like the Sports Apprentice or the Football Leadership and Management program at the EEXSport Academy, could those act as, can they fill that kind of gap?
The answer to that question is yes. In England, for example, there are a number of universities that run football studies courses, and that's in sports management, in business, in coaching, and in marketing, for example. So young, talented people can already go there and receive a training program that is based on the kind of principles that we're talking about. And of course, you've got world famous universities like Loughborough University, for example, which is well known for its sporting provision. And I think that where the Sports Apprentice program is very, very good is it allows people to get training, and they can combine it with work. So it is practical, it is affordable, and it is at the cutting edge. because it is led and run by people who are in the business, and it has got an end point to it. So I think in many ways what the Sport Apprenticeship program has done, because it gives people real opportunities in the world post-graduation, and it gives them employment, and it, as we have seen, that many of these federations and associations like the Sport Apprenticeship program, because they see the quality of the delivery, and when the people come to them, they're not ignorant of the industry. And by the word ignorant, I just mean people who do not know, not people who are stupid, right? Because they're not stupid. They've got a degree, they've got these qualifications, but they may lack the knowledge of how the industry works. And therefore, the whole apprenticeship program is giving them the knowledge and the experience before they move into that industry. And therefore, they're much more desirable to that association or the industry, because they're taking someone who already knows the fundamentals of the job and has already demonstrated capacity to do it. So in that phrase that I think you just said, it truly is a win-win situation for everybody. It's great for the sports apprenticeship program because we get to work with wonderful people, and it's great for the associations we work with because they get great graduates, and it's great for the participants because they get well trained and they have a future of paid employment in an industry they wish to work in. What's not to like?
Indeed. I think that's where we'll leave it for today. Dr. Colm Hickey, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you
Your
very much
insights are
indeed.
just absolutely invaluable. Dad, let him outside. For those of you watching at home, if you enjoyed this conversation, please be sure to like, subscribe, drop a comment, share the video. The challenge, Africa, we have, like I said, we have the talent. We've got everything we need. We just need leadership. We just need the structures. Join us again for the next episode of EEXSport Talk. Thank you all for watching. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.